Class 8. Subject Social Studies, Civics. Lesson 7 Understanding Marginalization 1. Q1. Name few marginalized groups of India. Ans. Few marginalized groups of India are the Adivasis, the Muslims and the Dalit. Q2. What are the consequences of marginalization? Ans. Marginalization results in having a low social status and not having equal access to education and other resources. Q3. What do you understand by the term minority? Ans. A minority is a group of people that differ in some way from the majority of the population. Q4. Write one reason why you think the Constitution's safeguards to protect minority communities are very important. Ans. The Constitution provides safeguards because it is committed to protecting India's cultural diversity and promoting equality as well as justice. Q5. Who headed committee set up by the government to examine the social, economic, and educational status of Muslim community in India? Ans. Justice Rajinder Sachar headed committee set up by the government to examine the social, economic, and educational status of Muslim community in India. Q6. How are Adivasis portrayed today? Ans. Adivasis are invariably portrayed in very stereotypical ways in colorful costumes, headgear and through their dancing. Often Adivasis are blamed for their lack of advancement as they are believed to be resistant to change or new ideas. Q7. What was the conclusion reached by the Justice Rajinder Sachar Committee? Ans. The committee came to the conclusion that on a range of social, economic and educational indicators the situation of the Muslim community is comparable to that of other marginalized communities like scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Q8. Why groups may be marginalized? Ans. Their marginalization can be because they speak a different language, follow different customs or belong to a different religious group from the majority community. They may also feel marginalized because they are poor, considered to be of low social status and viewed as being less human than others. Q9. How can we tackle marginalization? Ans. Marginalization is a complex phenomenon requiring a variety of strategies, measures and safeguards to redress this situation. All of us have a stake in protecting the rights defined in the Constitution and the laws and policies framed to realize these rights. Without these, we will never be able to protect the diversity that makes our country unique nor realize the state's commitment to promote equality for all. Q10. How marginalization affects the community? Ans. Sometimes, marginalized groups are viewed with hostility and fear. This sense of difference and exclusion leads to communities not having access to resources and opportunities and in their inability to assert their rights. They experience a sense of disadvantage and powerlessness vis-à-vis more powerful and dominant sections of society who own land, are wealthy, better educated and politically powerful. Q11. Write in your own words 2 or more sentences of what you understand by the word marginalization. Ans. The word marginalization means exclusion from the mainstream. Groups of people or communities may have the experience of being excluded from mainstream society. Their marginalization can be because they speak a different language, follow different customs or belong to a different religious group from the majority community. They may also feel marginalized because they are poor, considered to be of low social status and viewed as being less human than others. Q12. List 2 reasons why Adivasis are becoming increasingly marginalized. Ans. Adivasis are becoming increasingly marginalized because they follow a different culture, language and traditions from mainstream Indian society, which leads us to wrongfully classify them as exotic, primitive and backward. 2. They are used to a way of life close to nature, and with the cutting down of forests they are being forced to migrate to urban areas where they feel out of place and not in sync with a lifestyle so vastly different from their countryside background. Q13. Would you agree with the statement that economic marginalization and social marginalization are interlinked? Why? Ans. Yes, economic marginalization and social marginalization are interlinked. Marginalization implies having a low social status and a consequent lack of access to education and other resources. Social marginalization, as seen in the case of the Muslim community, is based on how their traditions, culture and dressing make us identify Muslims as different from us. This sometimes leads to unfair inequity on the basis of religious differences. As a result, minority groups may find it difficult to rent houses, procure jobs or even send their children to schools. This is economic marginalization. Thus, the two are interconnected. Q14. List 3 things that you know about the lives of Adivasis living in India. Ans. The 3 things about the Adivasis living in India would be: around 8% of India's population is Adivasi, and many of India's most important mining and industrial centers are located in Adivasi areas, Jamshedpur, Rourkela, Bokaro and Bhilai among others. 2. Adivasis are not a homogeneous population. There are over 500 different Adivasi groups in India. 3. Adivasis practice a range of tribal religions that are different from Islam, Hinduism and Christianity. Adivasis have their own languages which have often deeply influenced the formation of mainstream Indian languages like Bengali. Q15. You are participating in a debate where you have to provide reasons to support the following statement: Muslims are a marginalized community. Using the data provided in this chapter, list 2 reasons that you would give. Ans. 2 reasons in support of the statement: Muslims are a marginalized community. The Muslim community has not been able to gain from the country's socio-economic development as statistics on basic amenities, literacy rate and public employment. 63.6% Muslims live in kucha houses as compared to only 55.2% Hindus. The literacy rate amongst Muslims was the lowest at 59% in a 2001 survey. 2. Their customs are distinct from other religious communities, so much so that they are identified as separate from the rest of us, leading to unfair treatment and discrimination against Muslims. Q16. What were the hardships faced by the Adivasis? Ans. Hardships faced by the Adivasis were: forest lands have been cleared for timber and to get land for agriculture and industry. 2. Adivasis have also lived in areas that are rich in minerals and other natural resources. These are taken over for mining and other large industrial projects. 3. Huge tracts of their lands have also gone under the waters of hundreds of dams that have been built in independent India. 4. In the northeast, their lands remain highly militarized and war-torn. India has 54 national parks and 372 wildlife sanctuaries. These are areas where Tiavan BILs originally lived but were evicted from. 6. Losing their lands and access to the forest means that T1BILs lose their main sources of livelihood and food. 7. Adivasis have migrated to cities in search of work where they are employed for very low wages in local industries or at building or construction sites. 8. They, thus, get caught in a cycle of poverty and deprivation. Q16. Write a brief note on Adivasis. O. Who are Adivasis? Ans. Adivasis. Adivasis. The term literally means, original inhabitants are communities who lived, and often continue to live, in close association with forests. Around 8% of India's population is Adivasi, and many of India's most important mining and industrial centers are located in Adivasi areas: Jamshedpur, Rourkela, Bokaro and Bhilai among others. 2. Adivasis are not a homogeneous population. There are over 500 different Adivasi groups in India. A state like Orissa is home to more than 60 different tribal groups. 3. Adivasis practice a range of tribal religions that are different from Islam, Hinduism and Christianity. These often involve the worship of ancestors, village and nature spirits. 4. During the 19th century, substantial numbers of Adivasis converted to Christianity, which has emerged as a very important religion in modern Adivasi history. We Adivasis have their own languages, which have often deeply influenced the formation of mainstream Indian languages, like Bengali.